we met last Sunday, practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, had 3 of our most spirited, competitive, energized practices as we've had all season. They lifted Thursday morning, had the rest of Thursday off other than academic obligations, and then had Friday and Saturday off. It was good for them to be able to get home. And those that went home and just get away from football a little bit and refresh themselves mentally and physically. Came back this afternoon, got together, had a team meeting this afternoon, and special teams meetings and offense defense meetings, and then got out on the practice field for about an hour. And I think the break was good for everyone. A lot of energy out there tonight, and a lot of excitement about what's in front of us. So excited about getting into November as we get going tomorrow, and got a big challenge this week with Florida up ahead of us. Certainly have our work cut out for us. And, I myself, like a lot of you guys, I'm sure watched that game yesterday, and then watching the tape of it today in the office. I think they had more yards than any team has had against Georgia this year, and ran the ball well against them for sure. And turnovers, particularly the turnovers there at the end of the first half, really affected the outcome of that game. So we've got a big challenge ahead of us, but our guys are excited about it. Looking forward to getting to work Tuesday when we get back to practice. Health-wise, we're in pretty good shape. Jalen Dickerson is the one that I would say is still probably doubtful this week. He really didn't do anything in practice tonight. Zeb was out there, was very limited, as you can imagine, still less than a week out of surgery, but we're still optimistic about his availability this Saturday, and if not, got full confidence in Jason Brown and Colton and Connor Jordan, our other quarterback, to be able to go out there and operate efficiently. So we'll see how those guys continue to progress during the week. But a lot of those guys that were banged up that I mentioned last week, EJ, to carry on, a lot of those guys, the running backs, the time off, I think, did them well. And they all said they felt great tonight. So we've got to have a great week of practice, keep those guys healthy, get some of these other guys healthier as the week goes, and put together a great plan to go be successful on Saturday night. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Hey, Shane, it's Dave. You mentioned, Zeb and Nolan. Zeb and Jason. When do you want to have a firm decision about who your starter is? Could that go right up till game time?
Yeah, I'm a believer, David, that if your quarterback needs to be able to practice during the week. I think it's hard to not do anything during practice during the week and then just show up on Saturday and play when you haven't gotten reps. So, ideally, Zeb would be able to, do something. Tomorrow we're off, but be able to do something on Tuesday when we get back on the practice field, and then be able to progress as the week goes. But both of those guys are older guys, and got confidence in both of them, regardless of how much time they get. But I think a lot of that I'll probably have a better idea on Tuesday in the press conference. But ideally, I like being able to just say this guy's our starter and go and everybody rally around that guy. And, looking back, Zeb's done some really good things for us, and a lot of the, none of us played or coached well against Texas A&M, and certainly some plays Zeb would like to have back from that game, and some plays in that game that, we got to be better than 10 guys around Zeb from that game. And then same thing with Jason, some plays he did really well, some plays he would like to have back as well. So we'll see how the week of practice goes, and those guys are out there competing, and both of them are making each other better.
And this is, for starters, how do you plan on first team reps in practice that it's able to go on Tuesday?
How do we plan on breaking up the reps, you said?
Yeah, the first team reps.
Yeah, I think that they're both going to get work with the first group, and I'm not going to sit here and say that either one of them's the starter as we sit here. We want to get into the week and see how these guys practice and compete and how they prepare. But got confidence in both of them, and like always, even when Luke was the starter, Zeb got plenty of work, and different quarterbacks get some work with the first group and things like that. So we'll see how Zeb's health is on Tuesday morning when we get out there, or as we go into practice, and we got to do a good job of getting both those guys ready to play, but then also getting Colton ready to play as well, potentially, if if Zeb's not 100%.
Shane, it's Ben. You mentioned that guys were able to get a little bit healthier over the bye week. How's Kevin looking as far as getting back to full go, and where's he at after the A&M game?
Yeah, he's really looks good. I mean, I was talking to him and Jalen Foster before practice tonight while we were waiting to get started, and both of those guys, the break did well, and he looks good. We did some special teams work, and Kevin's doing some things on the punt team right now, and looks fast and looks healthy. And Kevin practiced last week, against A&M. He was just, I think I mentioned it to you guys, he was just the one that was probably the most limited as the week went on, compared to the other running backs. But he feels a lot better. We had three. We weren't out on the field a super long time last week, but they were spirited practices, and it was pretty cool because I was trying to give them a little bit of a break from physical, tough, hard practices. Not that we weren't going to do that, but just maybe shorten the practices a little bit. And some of the guys on the team, they came to me and they wanted a little bit longer practices, and they wanted some more to be to practice running the football and stopping the run. And not that we weren't doing that already, but they wanted more of it. It's really cool. So having said that, Kevin did some good stuff in practice last week, and then had 4 days off, or 3.5 days off, and back at it today, and looks fresh and looks healthy.
Hey Shane, this is Mike. My question to you is, obviously during a bye week, trying to focus obviously on yourself. Did you take the approach more so kind of like an extra kind of couple of practice like it was during fall camp, or did you kind of work on some of the things you guys feel like you can improve on at this point of the year?
A little bit of both, to be honest with you. We went through and did some self-scout work, and we do that all the time, Mike, but we really were able to, dive into it a little bit more in depth of, making sure that we don't have any tendencies, and having some of our defensive, coaches break down, our offense, whether it be individuals or schemes or whatnot, just like they were getting ready for an opponent. So that was good to kind of find some things out and about us in some ways, and maybe from a different perspective. We did quite a bit of good on good, like it would be a preseason camp. We really didn't get into a whole lot of Florida. We spent a little bit of time on Florida towards the end of practice on Wednesday, but Monday and Tuesday were primarily, let's get ourselves better. Let's really spend more time from a individual standpoint on technique and fundamentals within the position group. We did a lot of competitive drills, whether it be one-on-ones or competitive team periods. We went back and did some red zone work against each other, some coming out, meaning the offense is on the 1 or 2 yard line backed up like we were against Georgia, and now we got to get a first down. We went back and we did some 2-minute work against each other. We created an overtime period. I was kind of hoping it was going to make itself work into a 9 overtime deal like Penn State had last weekend, but it ended up being just 2 overtimes. But it was good to get some competitive work. And our guys, one thing about them, y'all have watched them play, they love to compete. And anytime we can create those situations in practice, it amps up the energy in practice, and the competitive periods that we did last week did that as well. So, yeah, very little Florida, a lot of South Carolina, and a lot of technique and fundamentals, and a lot of competitive stuff as much as we can.
Shane, it's Dave again. Looking at Benny Murphy, your backup center there. Has he been getting any first-team reps? I know you've only had 1 day of practice, but could that be the plan going forward, maybe to look at him to get some first-team reps?
Yeah, we're looking at everybody, Dave. Vinny's one I should have mentioned. Vinny was banged up a little bit coming out of that A&M game, so Vinny was a little limited in practice last week, where he wasn't able to get in there and fully practice. He was out there tonight, still a little banged up. He'll be fine for Saturday. So to answer your question, he hasn't because he's been a little bit limited in practice health-wise. But like every position, we're always about competition, and Vinny's, in that group of young offensive linemen that I think continue to get better. Vinny, Hank Manos, You've seen Wanamaker in there the last couple of weeks. Trey Jones continues to get better. So we're always trying to amp up the competition, and we've got plenty of confidence in Eric Douglas. But all of us on the offense have to play and coach better, and we're constantly competing and trying to get young guys some work.
Shane, it's Ben again. I know you guys were maybe hopeful that Rick Sanders might be able to play at some point this season. Just where's he status-wise rehabbing? And I mean, is that the hope that you might still be able to get him this year?
Yeah, I would say that's getting less and less likely as we go, Ben. And I don't want y'all to think that I was lying to you. I mean, when Rick got hurt, we really did feel like initially that he would be back by the end of October. And as it looks right now and the way that he's, kind of come along with his rehab and whatnot, I would say it's doubtful that Rick is going to play, this at least in the next 4 weeks. Hopeful that he can, but at this point we're not counting on that happening. And I know he's doing everything in his power to try to, but especially to get himself ready for 2022 and different rehabs and whatnot go different ways, and his, for whatever reason, just hasn't gone quite as fast as we and he would like. So hopefully, he has a breakthrough from a health standpoint in the next 4 weeks, but we're not counting on it right now.
Dane, it's Colin. I guess you mentioned doing self-scout stuff. What did you learn about this team in all 3 phases during self-scout, and has it changed maybe how you approach things from a coaching, from an install standpoint, heading into the final 4 games?
Yeah, a little bit is just maybe some some tendencies. I felt like offensively, if you look at us from a down and distance standpoint, we don't have many tendencies where a team could say, okay, they're 90%. If you get them in this down and distance, it's going to be a run or a pass or whatnot. I do think we do a pretty good job down and distance wise of keeping teams off balance. Certainly you see some things from a formation standpoint or maybe a motion standpoint that over the last few weeks, maybe some tendencies have crept up. But really, I think we try and do a pretty good job. We do a pretty good job of it during the week of, each week looking at it. It's not like we just wait till after 8 weeks to do that. We were able to dive into it a little bit more. So offensively, maybe a few formation things. Defensively, some minor things. Nothing major, nothing glaring. And then I think Pete does a good job on special teams of constantly mixing it up. Whether it be the way we line up to punt the football or using different returns in the return game, kicking the ball different places. Pete always does a great job of that, as does Marcus and Clayton. So anything glaring? No, not really. At the end of the day, we gotta execute better. Starting this Saturday, we've got to run the ball better on Saturday night, and we got to do a better job of stopping the run. Certainly, I mean these guys do a great job of running the football, and Florida does, and we've got to do a better job of stopping it as compared to what we've done in our last. Other than Vanderbilt, we haven't done a great job of stopping the run against Tennessee, Kentucky, and Texas A&M. So we've got to execute better and coach better, but hopefully some of the things we found over the last few days of self-scout or last week of self-scout can help us do a better job of that.
Hey, Shane, it's Phil Cornbread. In talking about your self-scout on the offensive side, did you see an offense that's too complex and your players are having a difficult time picking up the various aspects of it? That's been one of the complaints that I've read from folks who've looked at your offense from an outside standpoint. Would you agree with that?
Who, from an outside standpoint, would know that it's too complex? My answer would be no. And I think sometimes when you hire a coach from the NFL, that all of a sudden we use the word pro style, and pro style means complex. And I wouldn't say that at all. I mean, we're constantly wanting to give our guys a chance to to be successful. And our guys not understanding what we're doing is not a recipe to be successful, in my opinion. So, we're carrying less plays into our game plan each week than what we did early in the season to try and be a little bit more efficient. You want to be complex and multiple enough where a defense just can't line up and know exactly what you're doing. I mean, you got to keep teams off balance with formations and personnel groupings and motions and shifts and concepts, and we do all that for sure. But I've been a part of a quote unquote pro style offense at the University of Georgia. Jim Chaney was our offensive coordinator, who had been in the NFL for a long, long time, and that was a pro style offense. And when we were operating at a high level, I don't remember anyone saying that was an offense that was too complex to learn. Lincoln Riley's offense is quote unquote air raid and is not a simple offense to pick up. We asked our guys at Oklahoma to do a lot more. I shouldn't say a lot more, but certain positions had a lot more on their plate than certain positions do in our offense. And then now we're running an offense at Carolina that's quote unquote pro style, and we're not playing well, so it's easy to say, well, it's too complicated because it's pro style. That's a cop out. I mean, people don't know what we're doing offensively, and we're constantly talking to our guys about making sure that they understand what we're doing, and constantly during the week feel of the way we meet offensively, making sure that our players are all on the same page. And I tell our quarterbacks all the time that if there's something that we're doing schematically that maybe they don't have a good feel for, let us know, and we'll throw it out. But when you look at each game, and so I apologize for the long answer, but when you look at each game and we go back and look at the number of mental errors, busted assignments, things like that, and every game you're going to have some. I don't care who you are, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Georgia, whoever, but our numbers have been very low from a bust mental error assignment. We've got to certainly call better plays, and we got to execute the plays we call at a higher level than what we've been doing also, though.
Hey, Shane and Hale, I was just curious, have you had any kind of contact with Coach Spurrier lately, I guess during the season at any point, or do you know if he's going to be in town for the game on Saturday night?
I have not. I have not since the season started. I haven't had any contact with Coach Spurrier. I believe he's coming because I'm pretty sure there's an event Friday night that I think my dad's going to be at it. That Coach Spurrier, I believe, is going to be at the event as well on Friday night. So I would imagine he's coming, but no, I have not talked to him since the season started. And that's nothing against Coach Spurrier. I mean, during the season, I talked to my wife, I talked to high school coaches, I talked to recruits, and outside of that, I don't talk to many people during the season, unfortunately. So I talked to my parents some, and it's very limited. So I certainly think a lot of Coach Spurrier, so just because I haven't talked to him during the season, please don't read anything into that. Go ahead. I think it was Ben was getting ready to answer one.
I wanted to ask, kind of in sort of your assessment through kind of the bye week, were there any skill guys that maybe were in smaller roles that you kind of took a little more of a look at and said maybe you want to get them a little more involved going to these last 4 games?
Not necessarily, because I mean I really feel like we've tried to. There's not many skill guys, is what I'm getting at, that we haven't been playing in the games. Offensively, Amarian Brown's been out there more. Obviously, Legette's playing more. Juju's a young guy that continues to play well. Other than the guys that are kind of in the process of redshirting, there's really not a lot of guys out there that we say we need to get involved more. Offensively, through 8 games, you got a pretty good idea of who your playmakers are, and we certainly want to continue to get our playmakers involved and find ways to get them the ball. And it wasn't like all of a sudden we went to College Station and stopped trying to do that. We tried, and obviously, we had some protection issues and different issues that prevented that from happening. Defensively, kind of the same thing. I mean, a lot of those guys are continuing to play well. Obviously, we were pleased with the way that Debo Williams played against Texas A&M when he came in. We were pleased with the way that Mo Kaba played. Carlin Splittell at nickel continues to get better and better. Made some nice open field tackles against Texas A&M, and I tell our coaches all the time that we're 8 games in, we got 4 games left, and we're not set in stone with any position. If there's somebody that can help us and can continue to that is continuing to get better and better, let's get them opportunities. And we tried to do that in practice last week. There's some guys that are redshirt that we're excited about. TJ Sanders is a young defensive lineman that hasn't played yet or hasn't played regularly that we're really, really fired up about his future and the kind of player that he can be. So we're constantly looking at that. But no, coming off the bye week, there wasn't anybody specifically that, all of a sudden you're going to see on Saturday night. I don't think that's going to be new.
Shane, I think you kind of touched on it, but talking about simplifying, I guess I'm just curious, what does that kind of look like? How do you go about saying maybe, okay, this play's not working, throw it out, let's try something different? What kind of does that adjustment look like on your guys' end?
Yeah, we go back and we can look at every single play that we ran this season, going back to Eastern Illinois, and what does the success rate of that play look like? If it's a running play, how many yards per carry are we averaging? If it's not, and if we've had some breakdowns, why are we having those breakdowns? So maybe it's a scheme that we like, that we're just, we're personnel wise, it's not a strong suit for us or whatnot. Or maybe it's, okay, let's, we certainly, try and keep teams off balance, and we use some pre-snap motions and shifts like a lot of teams do. Maybe it's looking at that and limiting that, because it's great to motion and all that, but a lot of times when you're motioning, now that changes, your communication for the offensive line and the IDs of the linebackers and things like that. So it could be something as simple as maybe doing a few less motions and just lining up and playing. I mean, it's a combination of things. But, you can overthink it and certainly get to be doing, can't be too simple. But there's a fine line between being too simple and too complex, and you're constantly trying to find that balance that allows you to operate at a high level and be successful.
Hey Shane,
this is John. You've mentioned several times, really since you've taken the job, just kind of the phrase that all the things that these guys have gone through over the last year. Apart from COVID, is there anything else that's been particularly challenging for this group of players that they've gone through over the last year?
Yeah, in my mind, when I say that, it's the coach that recruited them getting fired. The entire coaching staff that recruited them to Carolina not being here anymore, except for Mike Peterson. Winning 2 games last season. I'm not even sure how many exactly the number is Carolina won in 2019, but certainly that's a lot of adversity, that those guys went through. COVID, everything that took place in the summer of 2020. So compared to every college student certainly went through, or every college athlete went through COVID and last summer, but not everyone dealt with the adversity that they dealt with on the field, and saw the coach that recruited them get let go. So those are the main things I'm referring to when I say that.
This group of guys was particularly, I don't want to say broken, but just disheartened with the way things had gone. Was it more of a challenge, I guess, is a better way of asking it, than you thought it would be, just to build these guys back up?
It would be a lie for me to sit here and tell you that, confidence was sky high when I got hired and started working with these guys, because, certainly for that confidence, you got to have success on the field. And there was not a lot of success on the field last year, and there were some major blowouts, lopsided games at times last year. So, certainly the confidence was a little bit different than maybe what it was when, Lincoln Riley took over for Bob Stoops in the summer of whatever it was at Oklahoma, it's a little bit of a different situation. That's why I was so proud of what we did at East Carolina, and what we did at East Carolina, because we were down 14-0, and we're facing a lot of adversity, and guys didn't flinch and came right back and won the football game. That's why I was so proud of that. So we're constantly building that up, and our guys are a confident bunch, and I know you guys see what takes place on Saturdays in the four quarters, but I see what these guys are doing during the week and what they do at practice, and it's a fun group to be around, and a group that does have confidence.
Hey, Shane,
and the last thing for me on that, is that one of the reasons why you're so positive in post game press conferences and throughout the week publicly, just to keep that energy and that positivity around it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a act either, though. I mean, I'm trying to. I truly feel that way, and I know it doesn't always look like it on Saturdays, but I see how hard these guys work, and I see the kind of team that we can be, and want these guys to have success, because I believe we can be a good team as this season finishes out. But also, it's just trying to be steady. I mean, it's not me being positive when things are going well. That doesn't mean when we get clobbered, to quote, to use a Coach Spurrier term, when we get clobbered at Texas A&M, that everything's okay, because it's not. But just trying to not be negative and stay pretty steady and stay steady, and that's just how I am as a coach and as a person. So staying steady, staying consistent. Obviously, we're judged on what goes on Saturdays during the four quarters that we're out there, but it's also, I see the big picture and what these guys are doing during the week as well, and not trying to lose sight of that also.
Hey, Shane, it's Corn Blue one more time. I know you traveled around a good bit to various schools to meet with coaches and I guess eyeball some players. Was there a central theme, a particular message that maybe you got back from the coaches, especially the in-state coaches that you went to visit, who are kind of watching you closely to see what you do?
Absolutely love what you guys are doing, and you're on the right track, and don't change anything. Really love the way you guys play and the effort that your guys are playing with, and keep doing what you're doing. There's great days ahead in Columbia, and that's not just me trying to pat myself on the back and tell you what sounds good on the teleconference. That's what I heard, and I was out Monday recruiting, I was out Thursday recruiting, and I was out Friday recruiting, and that was a pretty consistent, steady message, which I've got so much respect for the coaches that I spent time with over the last 3 days. So to hear that from them was really rewarding, and certainly appreciate them saying that.